Hello, welcome back to Coffee and Conversation for Well-Being. Our topic tonight is resilience. I am your host, relationship coach, Geralyn St Joseph. The first question is, what do we consider resilience? Well, if we look at the term in the dictionary, one of the things that it says is for something to be stretched out of shape for then to return to its original form. So it's something that can bounce back. If we are resilient, it means that we get knocked down, we might have a failure, something could happen, and yet we bounce back. Is resilience something that's special that only certain people have? No, it is something that you can learn and that is very apparent in the human race as a race, because resilience is necessary in order to survive. When 9/11 happened here in the United States, we saw how the people were very upset and crushed, and there was a lot of depression, and then we bounced back with more fervor and came together. We were kinder to one another and really supported one another, which was an amazing thing. Unfortunately, didn't last, but it was still an amazing thing. What we're going through now with COVID and the lockdowns and the censorship and all that kind of stuff that's happening right now, we are showing a great deal of resilience. There are members of the population who are not bouncing back quite so well. And we obviously cannot bounce back to exactly the same shape that our society had before this point in time, because things have changed. Another part of resilience is that when you bounce back, you can adapt to whatever the situation is. So like a tree in a storm, a tree that's immovable will be knocked over, whereas a tree that can bend will not break. That's the way we are. Another part of resilience is being able to put things into perspective and allowing ourselves the space to do that. So for instance, if you have a job that you love, or you're with someone that you love, and suddenly you find that things have changed, you've lost this thing, whether it be a person or a job or a vehicle or something like that. Taking the time to allow ourselves to feel our emotions and to process what is happening to us is a part of resilience. So resilience doesn't mean that you don't mourn things. It doesn't mean that you don't regret things. It doesn't mean that you never are, a puddle of emotion. What it means is that you step back enough to be able to really feel your emotions and process them. You give yourself the space. Part of processing when this type of event occurs, which we may label a failure or whatnot, is that we need to be able to see like a bigger picture. Why did this happen? What can this do to help me? What can I make out of this situation that will be a gift to me? Even if we don't think in those terms, true resilience is being able to get back up, gather yourself and gather the pieces around you and create something new that is workable and that helps you move forward. So when you're resilient, you don't allow yourself to be knocked down where you stay down. Does that mean that if you come across something that changes drastically, that then you fight to keep it going? Not necessarily. Resilience also is about having the vision to see if something is worth putting the energy into. Sometimes being truly resilient means dropping the rope, dropping the ball, allowing yourself to step away for self-preservation so that you can come back either to the same thing at a later time when you're stronger, or move in a different direction. Again, adaptability is very, very important in order to have true resilience. When we look at different points in our lives, we can see resilience shown personally. And when someone has come across a lot of difficulty, a lot of hardship, other people will see them as resilient because they just keep bouncing back. They keep coming back, or they go in a new direction, but they find a way to carry on, and they find a way to utilize what is there in front of them. Resilience has an intelligence of its own. So resilience will make you want to get back up. Resilience means that you have the drive, and it may not be real strong in the beginning because you've had this major setback, but it comes, and with each step forward, it pulls you forward yet more. Being truly resilient means being able to take stock of the situation, take from it what you can, and move forward with what is left. Are you resilient? Yes. Are there levels of resilience? Yes. For every person, there is a breaking point where maybe they can't get back up and continue to do it. It could be a physical breaking point, or it could be a breaking point that is more emotional or mental. We get mentally exhausted, we get emotionally exhausted. We have to pull back before we can try again, before we can bounce back. But resilience can be learned, and it is something that is intrinsic in all of us. With it being intrinsic in the human race and human beings, what that means is that it can be learned and honed. One of the things that a child needs to survive in all aspects of having a fulfilling life in this world is to be resilient. Resilience incorporates adaptability, focus, strength, a good EQ, which is emotional intelligence, and having vision. What is anti-resilience? Being a victim, being a blamer. If everything is everybody else's fault and you don't take responsibility for your own power in a situation, or your own mistakes, or your own motivations, that is not a sign of resilience. That is trying to throw somebody else under the bus, basically. You need to have responsibility for yourself, your actions, your own emotions, and your thoughts in order to have true resilience. When you're ignoring yourself, that's not resilient. So when you're dissociating and you're blaming everybody else and everything is outside yourself, and you just keep moving on and barreling through, even though there's a part of you that just wants to stop, that is not being resilient. That is forcing things forward. That is removing your emotional self in order to keep the rest of yourself going. Now, is this necessary sometimes? Of course it is. There are times when you are exhausted and you just can't do one more thing, but you do because it needs to be done. But when this type of dissociation, where you're not acknowledging or expressing your own feelings and your inner workings, when that becomes a habit, that is not resilience. That is running from who you are and whatever your situation is. That is not being adaptable. That, again, is hiding a part of yourself. How do we teach resilience? Some of the best ways to teach resilience is, as we grow, to allow our children to try and fail at times. We're not causing them to fail. We're not making them fail every time, because there's got to be a certain amount of winning or a certain amount of success in order for people to have the inspiration and the motivation to move forward. Whereas if they see it as they're just going to fail every single time, they're not going to move forward. So there's a magic number that's there. There's that magic line where if they fail too many times, then they're not going to get back up. The other side of that is when you have kids who never fail, They never lose. Everybody's given a trophy. Everybody gets the same grade, whether they've worked at their things, whether they handed in their homework, just showing up, you get a showing up reward. That is the opposite of resilience. That creates a very weak character and a very weak populace. So we really need to be careful of that. As adults, if we did not learn resilience as children, it's something we can learn as adults. We take responsibility for ourselves. We own our emotions. Sometimes in order to own our emotions, we need to figure out what they are and be able to name them. And there are plenty of people who have been raised without that ability and without being given those chances and those opportunities to really grow. As an adult, it's our choice. Do you take responsibility? Do you own up to your decisions? Do you recognize your emotions? And do you allow yourself to feel them, to process them so that you can move past it? So that whatever it's trying to tell you, you can see. Are you open to seeing the bigger picture? Are you open to recognizing that maybe your boss dressed you down in front of everybody, but he just found out something major is going on in his life and he's so upset and doesn't know what to do with that emotion and he takes it out on you? Are you going to hold that against him forever? Or are you going to recognize that maybe there are bigger things happening? And maybe that's not as big a deal as it felt like at the time. Doesn't mean to lay down and take it. But is this something that happens all the time? Or was this out of character? These are the things you need to ask yourself. True resilience comes with adversity. If we never have any adversity, there is no way for us to grow resilient. It's like finding a diamond in the rough. If the diamond has nothing to grind itself up against, it will always stay in the rough. You can see the beauty in there, it's just not on the surface. It's not apparent to all. And it's not your job, unless it's your kid or your teacher or something like that. But it's not your job to teach another adult resilience. It's their job to want to learn it. With that being said, if you have any questions, any comments, please let me know. If you would like to work with me or find out more, you can go to my website, Relationship Coach, G as in girl, SJ as in Joseph.com, where I have posted videos and materials for free. And I also have things for fee. So if you'd like to work with me, please go there and let me know. Thank you again. This is Geralyn St Joseph. This is Coffee and Conversation for Well-Being. Thank you for coming and blessings.